My name is Jarka. I lead Impact Hub in Ostrava, so it was kind of a long journey here, but I'm really happy to be here with you today and to get to know you more. And my topic is community building for change. And from the beginning, I will ask who of you uses bike to go around the city? You do? Yeah, sometimes. Okay. Because the story I'm going to share is about biking. And meet Tom. This is our member in Impact Hub Ostrava, Tom Kořená. He is an IT developer, freelancer working from our coworking. And one day he bought this bike. As you see, it's not a normal bike, it's a cargo bike. So he can drive his children to kindergarten or just drive any cargo in it instead of going to the city center by car. So it's an ecological way how to get around the city. And he got to know it in Netherlands and he fell in love with it. So he was like, yeah, I will do this here in Ostrava. And he had a thought that he would like to somehow introduce it to the public more. So he was thinking about maybe doing something like renting these bikes. He was firstly thinking about renting just the one he got. Then we were talking about it at the bar, as you maybe know. So that's like the main area in Impact Hubs are like the bars. Everyone meets there. It's not only full with, like, there's not only alcohol, just to say, there's everything. We just call it bar. So we met there and we were just doing mashup. You maybe know it's like new ideas presentation, 10 projects being presented. And the topic for this mashup was what is new in Ostrava. And we still had like one speaker missing, and I was like, hey, Tom, I think you should do this. You should introduce the idea you have in your head. And he was like, no, I think, you know, it's just a thought. And I, no, do it. And then he said, okay, I would. So he did. He was at our mashup, and he got a great feedback on his cargo bike rental from our members. So this was like for him a good moment when he knew, oh, okay, so maybe more people would be interested in this. And then there was a community lunch where was also Břeťa, the second guy. And Břeťa was searching for a project he could be part of that would be somehow like impactful for the region. And he is also a fan of biking. So they were talking about it at the community lunch. Yeah, they both really liked working together. So 3 months after that, they started a company. A month ago, they opened the cargo bike rental just across the street from Impact Hub in Ostrava. So it really happened, and now people in Ostrava can see that there is a different way how they can get around the city, that it's not only going by car, but that you have like a different option how to go with your children or with the cargo you have. So this is just like a small story, a recent one from Ostrava's community, and I would like to introduce you to a theory of change. It's called theory of change. On this project, I would use this story like to introduce you to theory of change, how to make an impact by community building. So first, there are inputs. It's a little of theory, but I will try to make it practical for you. So inputs, that's the community we have. That's like all the resources we have in general, and it is also the place. So for Tom and Břeťa, for Cargo Bike Daddy, the inputs were themselves, the members of our community, and it was the space, Impact Hub Ostrava, where they could meet. So these were the inputs in this story, but these are in general any resources you have. Then there come activities. These are the things we as community builders know very well. These are all the things we do, like birthday celebrations and new ideas, presentations, and anything we do for community building. So lunches, breakfasts, many good ideas were mentioned here today. So these are the activities. For Tom and Přeťa, this was like the mashup, the presentation, and then the lunch in their story. And then there are outputs. Outputs is what happens there, and we can measure it. So in this story, again, it's that they exchanged the contact at the lunch, right? They were talking together at the community lunch. So like this connection was the output. The output can also be the number of workshops we do, the number of community events in general we do, how many attendants we have, how many people go through our workshops. These are outputs. And now it starts to be interesting because there are outcomes, and the outcomes are not really influenced by us anymore. So outcomes, these are, or in the story it is that Tom and Přeťa, they decided to start the company, right? We could not really influence that. Like it's either they can work together, they like it together or not, but they did, so that is the outcome. The outcome can be that women who go through Chiquita's workshops find their place in IT. That can be an outcome. You can partially influence it, but not like in total. And also outcomes are short-term. That is the short-term goals we have. And then there are the long-term goals. And that is impact, that is change. So these are really like the big changes we can make in the system. And for Cargo Bike Daddy, for Tom and Přeťa, this didn't happen yet, right? Because they still need time. And in the time, if people in Ostrava see this is a way how to transport ourselves, and they will choose to buy a cargo bike instead of a car, so there will be less emissions produced and less cars in the city. And that will be the change, that will be the impact. But it's too soon now. But that is like the kind of magic happening, right? That's it. Also, if we think about it from the like world perspective, so United Nations actually gives us ideas what these long-term goals are. These are, maybe you know them, Sustainable Development Goals. There's many of them, and these are the really like the big world topics that needs to be solved now. Some of them, like I would say, even critically. And what is common to them? We cannot do this alone as like individuals and even as organizations. We're just too small for that. We really need to cooperate together if we want the magic to happen. It means that like the first three, we have a direct influence on, right? That's like what we really do, but outcomes and impact, we really don't. So that supports the idea that was also mentioned here, that we're probably not like community managers, but we're more like catalysts. We are empowering, we are strengthening, because like management we can do maybe in these three, and it's good, we do it. But for these two, we can only like be part of it and help it to happen. Now I have like 5 recommendations for you from all of this, like from the theory, like what should we do with this as community builders now. So the first one is, ta-da, as you see, the arrows changed in a different direction, that we should start with the impact. It was mentioned here many times today, the purpose, that it's about what change do we really want to make. So we should start here to the outcomes, outputs, activities, and inputs. So that is like a first recommendation, to ask the questions, what are the changes we want to make? And it can be in our field, in IT, in marketing, it can be in the world in general. We can be inspired even by the high United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We can. It's a little bit like Gandhi's, right? Like become the change you want to see in the world. And I really believe that it's really what we need to do. So that's like number one, start with why. Number two, the quality of the community matters. Because the inputs in general matters, not only the quality of the community, but all the resources we have, right? Because like then, if Tom and Břeťa were not doing like bikes, but if they were selling cigarettes, so we could help them by our activities, but the impact would probably be even negative for the world. So like it really matters what the community does, what the inputs are. And I have also a recommendation to focus on impact players. These are the people who you don't have to tell them to do something. They just come and do it. They really like need to make change. It's in their DNA, kind of. Maybe it's us here because we're doing community building, right? That's like part of the change somehow to build a community. But we can focus on these, on impact players, because then if we have them in our community, then we can really make like outcomes and impact. 3, expand the inputs by partnerships. So this means that really we cannot do that alone. So we need more people to be engaged. And we should ask the question, who are the partners we want to make the change with? If we share our resources, if it's not just our people doing something, our contacts, but like it's joined with more organizations, for example, then we can have a bigger impact again by expanding the inputs. I have a concrete examples. This is our cooperation in Ostrava with the art school next to us. We both had a thought that the garden space in our yard could be used better because no one was really there. It's owned by the art school, but the students were not really using it. And like we were like, yeah, and maybe we could use it as well and make the students to meet the entrepreneurs from Impact Hub. And we decided that we will buy the garden furniture, so it would get a little bit cozy and really people would like to go there. And then we decided that we would use it together, like entrepreneurs from Impact Hub Ostrava and the students from the art school. So that's like one of the example, like a local, small example, how we widened our inputs in general, because the resources now we have are bigger. We're doing something together. This is kind of a small thing, increasing, let's say, a well-being and increasing like connections between students and entrepreneurs. But yeah, that's one of the examples what we can do. A second one is that we co-producted an event with Chiquitas. We decided in Ostrava that we won't do it just like Impact Hub alone and Chiquitas alone, another event, but that we will do a one event. We will share contacts and we will share like the capacity we have for it. And thanks to this, that's like a big thing in Ostrava to have like 80 people at an event. So it happened after COVID, I will say, after COVID. And yeah, there were many like people from companies, politicians, community builders. And that happened because we decided to share the resources we have so that like the outcomes, the impact could be bigger. Number 4, track the outcomes and impact. Not only outputs, because it's easy to track outputs and it's important, of course it is. But like when we have, I don't know, 20 workshops, right? And many, many attendants on the workshops, but they don't really get hired, thanks to us, for example. If it was, I don't know, Chiquitas again, I like them, so I will use them as an example. So then if like no women get hired, then what's the use of it, right? So like we really need to focus on outcomes and the impact as well. It's hard to measure though, right? Like outcomes and impact, it was also mentioned here, it's hard to measure. But it's good to measure at least by qualitative means. I mean, just asking people, getting feedback. You don't have to have numbers for these. You don't have to have numbers for everything. From the beginning, it's good just to ask, hey, like what is the outcome of it? Like, how did it help you? How this event helped you? And number 5 is align the activities with the outcomes and impact. That means that we should do the activities so that we would have like some short-term and long-term changes. So when the changes don't come, then we should change the activities we're doing. So that's the last point from me, and I would like to finish with like a call that community is a very strong base for change. So use it for change and impact. Thank you.